Say something nice. Just say I have nice hair and big biceps, KarQ. Thank you. I don't work out. Hello, YouTube. A new articles dropped today. Director's take, Flashpoint cinematic, and the dawn of a new hero. Lots of Overwatch news. Let's start from the top. What is this picture? This is the new Flashpoint map. Suravasa, India. That's going to be coming out season 6 next month. A little bit more than a month, in early August. Grab bag week. There's a lot in the community talking about and we're excited for. This week, I'd love to briefly touch on a bunch of those topics. So this is Aaron Keller. This is Director's Take. Flashpoint, the new PvP game mode coming out in season 6. We talked about Flashpoint during the live stream and then some of the points around its design over Twitter, but nothing compares to a picture. It's good practice to draw paper maps before building a new level, especially when it's part of the process for designing a new game mode. This image is one of the first ones drawn for Flashpoint. The final layout of Suravasa won't be exactly like this. For instance, there won't be a river dividing the map in two, but it does a good job of showing how a Flashpoint map is designed. There are 2 spawn points for each team and 5 points arranged in an X-like pattern. A, B, C, D, E, like a 5 on a dice, an X. We talked about the quasi-symmetrical nature of the map on the Overwatch 2 Invasion reveal livestream, and when you look at point B, for instance, you will see that the entrances to the arena are all symmetrical, with the symmetry extending outside the point for a short distance. He's basically saying point B is like this. This is the back spawn for blue. If B is unlocked for Flashpoint, the distance from here is the same as the distance from B to the closer spawn for the red team. Red team is closer, here, like it's the same. If C was the one that's open, then the blue team would get this spawn, equal distance from here to here, and then the back spawn would be equal distance from here to here. That's the quasi-symmetrical nature. Another detail about Flashpoint I mentioned in the live stream is that when the match starts, the first point will be randomly picked. In actuality, this has been changed so that the first objective will always be the central point of the map. A will always be the first one. So, I told the story already on stream, but for the YouTube audience, I just came back from Irvine. I was invited out with a few content creators to Blizzard to playtest Flashpoint and some PvE missions. But we're talking about Flashpoint here. I played the map India like 3 times. I had Aaron on my team, Big Fudge on my team as well, to the devs, one game director, and was a game producer. I forgot Big Fudge's big title. But it was awesome playing with the creators and playing with Aaron. My first thoughts is Kenny. Kenny was his name. Quick thoughts on this, quick and dirty, before we get to the rest of the article, is that it's more fun than Push and 2CP in my first impressions. The map feels very long. The points move very fast. It's control. I know to go to like, what, 99 or 100%, it takes 2 minutes or something like that. This one feels at least 25% or more faster. So if you do lose the first fight and you come back, they're going to enemy team's going to be at like 50, 60%. Which means like maybe you get one more fight in. If not, maybe the new strategy is to go to the new point. I'm not going to lie. All of us were lost. We're just looking around like, where are we? The map is beautiful, but it's super, super confusing at first. It's definitely going to take a little bit of iteration, a lot of play time to kind of get used to it, which is why something I don't know if Aaron will mention in this article, just so everybody knows, this map will be coming out in season 6, but it won't be available for competitive right away. It's going to be available to be played in other modes, quick play or whatnot, so we can iron out some issues. Brand new game mode. You know, we want this to be like a fun map to play, especially in competitive later, but let's just get the data in. Get players playing. I will say long range feels really good. Lucio feels good on it. You need it. I was going to say Kiriko Lucio feels really good. Kiriko because long range, kunais, no damage fall off. I think I was sitting back here and I had a long angle here and I shot like double dinked a Hanzo chilling down here on the low ground. There's a super big high ground in the middle of A that like when you come in, it's like a really tough angle and can only really be challenged by Kiriko. If you're on Ana and you try scoping up there, it's really tough to hit. And if you're like looking down on Ana scoped in, she's really slow and she's like super easy to kill. Hard point, sort of like hard point. It's a movable point. You start in the center. Once this point's done, a new one unlocks. And depending on where it unlocks, of course, the spawns will change. If C unlocks after A, then the blue team will get this spawn. Red team will get this spawn. 30 seconds until the new point unlocks. In that 30-second downtime, you can choose to take a fight along these pathways, which certainly happened. Or maybe this team will take a back area angle to get to the back of market, and this team will take like the front angle, or maybe the team can decide to like rush them in the back. I think there's a lot of untapped strategies that people will figure out over time, but in our 3 games, super limited, it was confusing. That's all I'm saying. Next part of the game director, or next part of this director's take article is balance. The game balance this season continues to be in great shape. With season 5, we saw Junker Queen's dominant reign over the tank role even out. So it evened out because they nerfed Junker Queen a little bit, making for a way more diverse selection of tank heroes, with Winston and D.Va on the rise. Damage heroes notably saw a shift in player, with previous popular picks like Tracer and Hanzo being overtaken by Genji and Cassidy. Probably because Genji got the indirect 30 ammo buff, which they're retaining. Cassidy with the Hinder Nade. Tracer got nerfed this season. Hanzo didn't really get changed, but like, well, I think it's 5 less damage, so he can't one-shot, but I think Hanzo's still really good. Support is seeing a notable increase in both Brig and Lifeweaver team comps as well. Earlier this week, they pushed out a small balance update to fine-tune Cass, Mei, and Lifeweaver after they received some significant adjustments to their abilities at the start of the season. What we found is that Cass's magnetic grenade was slightly too easy to land. Mei's overall effectiveness dropped as she traded damage for more slowing utility, and Lifeweaver's impact was much greater than before. We're still looking for to improve player control over aiming Thorn Volley. So for those who missed it, this patch is live. I think the homing time for Cass is shorter. Mei's damage went from 55 to 70. They buffed her. People were like, why didn't you rate Mei on like A tier on my top 500 tier list? I'm like, I think it's like an Overwatch League thing only because they're strategizing with wall. I think in solo queue, I was like, the beam damage, spray damage getting nerfed to 55 was kind of like it was a nerf. I didn't rate her that high, and now they actually buffed her effectiveness. They cut some of the slow off, but the beam was like really bad, and if you're not hitting icicles in the low ranks, I didn't think Mei was that good. But now they're making the beam do a bit more damage again. And Lifeweaver's impact, I think they made it so like the spread doesn't start till later, and I think they improved the ammo if I'm not mistaken. But in any case, pretty minor buffs, but they're just tweaking and looking. There are more hero balance changes coming in the mid-season patch, which includes shifting power for Torb and Symmetra away from their turrets and into the rest of their kit, improving the control over Sojourn's railgun primary fire spread. I've said it before, Sojourn's high level character where she performs pretty well. They play in the World Cup high level, but in the low ranks, Sojourn has one of the worst DPS win rates because the spread is really bad. High level players, like the spread isn't too big of an issue because the rail is the most biggest value. If you're not hitting, it's a lot of downtime to get to a high charge, and if you don't hit that charge, then it's a lot of downtime to build it up again. Unlike if you play Hanzo, you can just keep spamming full charge arrows. Like, this is why Sojourn does not perform well in low ranks, so they're probably going to improve that a little bit, which I think is okay. Just got to be careful a little bit. Increasing the frontline capability of Rhine and Orisa. Slight adjustments to weaken Zen's Discord Orb. Oh, tank players rejoice. Cinematics. We've developed quite a few cinematics to be used in the invasion story missions as well as outside of it. As much as we can, we try to tell stories in the missions without taking control away from players. We prefer the gameplay in these missions to be uninterrupted. The stories in these missions are told in 2 different ways. First, the missions themselves are centered around a piece of the narrative. We record an incredible amount of voice lines for each mission, and depending upon which heroes are selected, players will get different interactions and sub-stories in each mission. Second, each mission is bookended with 2 cinematics, and the heavy lifting of driving the plot forward is handled through these cinematics. In addition to these sequences, we have other pieces coming out in Season 5 to set up the story that we're telling in Overwatch 2 and Invasion as well. Again, I went to Irvine, just came back. I played one of the story missions. I played the Toronto mission. The missions themselves are centered around a piece of narrative. That's right. The Toronto mission had an interesting narrative. Lots of voice lines for each mission. So I was saying earlier, if you pick Tracer as your playable hero, if Tracer normally drives the ship or does something in the mission themselves and it gets replaced by a different hero, and there's different voice lines. You know how you can choose different heroes to play. You can't choose all of them. Like, it would be weird to play Ramatra, because he's the bad guy. You're not going to play Ramatra when you're trying to, like, you know, save Toronto. Like, he's the one trying to kill. He's the one trying to, like, cause chaos. You know what I mean? So that's not really realistic. So you have a selection of the Overwatch heroes, not like Talon or whatever, but each ones have different interactions. So if you pick a different rotation or different team comp every time you play, if you're a big lore head, they've got really fun, unique lines. I mentioned it earlier where Overwatch 2, when they first announced it, they're like, we recorded 25,000 voice lines. Well, we probably only heard like 500 of them in PvP. They're all baked into probably all the missions here on out. We played it one time and I heard like a gazillion different like interactions, which I thought was really cool if you're a big narrative enjoyer. I mean, the Overwatch characters are super rich and really fun. I love it. And then second, each mission is bookended with 2 cinematics. These are not like basic cinematics where it's like a picture and a slow zoom like a comic. It is like the full 3D animated, like, you know, stuff is happening. Decent runtime, not like super short, few minutes. It's good on both ends. And I only played one of the missions. There's going to be a few of them. I think there's 3. So yeah, so that's basically what the cinematics is. There's also a thread connecting many of the cinematics we released over the years, including Are You With Us, the startup piece that shipped with the original games, and 0 Hour, the short shown at BlizzCon 2019. Years ago in our story, Overwatch was forced to disband, right? We've been gradually telling the story of how the original heroes of Overwatch have come back together. Next season's invasion story missions connect many of these threads. How will some of the heroes familiar to our players be introduced to Overwatch? What is Cassie going to do with the crew he recruited in the New Blood comic series? Keep a lookout for more pieces coming out later this year and beyond. Some of these relate to the story that we're telling in Invasion, some don't. One in particular is completely out of left field, but totally amazing. There's a new hero. I can't say too much about the new hero. We'll do a full reveal later before Overwatch 2 Invasion launches, but I'm not above teasing a bit. Earlier in June, we gave players a quick glimpse of her silhouette, and the internet completely went to work enhancing the video to give her more definition. Someone even created a concept piece for her. We knew people would do this, and we were surprised with how many of the details they got right about her look. I like to recognize his detective work by revealing an image that is an integral part of this hero's backstory. Enjoy. That's it for this week. We'll get more to it. So that's what you get. Solar threading ritual. And also, before you ask, no, I didn't see the new hero. They didn't tell us anything about it. Maybe my eyes accidentally saw something I shouldn't have, but like other than that, I literally know nothing. Oh, wait, there is more. There's also they say cinematics, but they also revealed an animated series, a 3-part animated series coming out. We have a teaser, guys. So Aaron didn't mention it in it, but there is a quick little teaser, last little bit. So there's a tweet saying there's a new introducing Genesis, an Overwatch mini-series, one of the 3 that premiere on July 6th. These are going to be a completely different animation, not 3D animated, by a studio with a very distinct art style. We have part 1, Dawn, on July 6th. Mark your calendars. 1 week later, July 13th. Then 1 more week later, July 20th. 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 6 minutes. Here's a trailer for the first one, very quickly. For those who missed the news, this is important.
Overwatch on site. Taking heavy fire. Sky, confirm target. You've been spotted. You've been spotted. Get out of here, Sky. Get out of here.
Life before the war was extraordinary. We were no longer defined
He's cooking.
by our mistakes. The AIs were saving us from them. But we had no idea. It was all about to change.
Isn't that Dr. Liao?
Through freedom, you can find your own path.
Genesis, an Overwatch mini-series, part 1, July 6th. Coming soon to a theater near you.